Sayid Muhammad Abdullah Hassan represents a decisive moment in Somali history, a moment when everything changed. He was the man who clearly articulated an idea that would shape generations to come, that the Somali people had the right to sovereignty, the right to govern their own land by its rightful people. This story will blow your mind.
Allah isimkiisa ay aamina igarkeed abayaden faaduma yudugtoy adogeed.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Deen and Adventure channel. Before we get started, please subscribe and share so we can continue making content like this. Jazakumullahu khairan. Sayid Muhammad bin Abdullah Hassan was born in Buhudle in the Samadhiq Valley in northern Somalia in 1856. By age 11, he had memorized the entire Quran and showed remarkable promise as a scholar and a leader. He later attended Islamic learning centers across Harar, Mogadishu, and even Sudan. He was taught by nearly 70 teachers. Childhood like this prepares for great leaders. During his youth, northern Somalia fell under British occupation. Military control was followed by aggressive missionary campaigns. To Sayyid Muhammad, it became clear the land has been seized and Islam itself was under threat. At such moments of history, figures like him do emerge. Figures comparable to Salahuddin or Umar al-Mukhtar. Let's see. Sayyid Muhammad decided to perform Hajj, pilgrimage to Mecca. He was traveling with 13 relatives and companions. There he heard for the first time about the Sudanese resistance led by Muhammad al-Mahdi against the British rule. He listened to discussions about jihad, resistance, and the obligation to confront occupation. In Mecca, he joined the Salihiyya order and immersed himself in religious learning for 2 full years. On his way back to Somalia, he stopped in Aden, which is in southern Yemen, for a few months. And because of some altercations with the British, he ended up striking a British officer, knocking him out, and then he got arrested for that. The Somalis community in Aden sought to tell the British that this man was mad, he was not sane, so just release him. They ended up releasing him, not knowing he will be their worst nightmare. When he returned to Somalia, he returned a changed man. He was determined to awaken his people. By 1895, Sayyid Muhammad was back in Somalia calling people to faith and resistance. He named his followers the Darawish and gave them a white wrap and a waistcloth as their uniform. More importantly, he fought something deeper than colonial rule, tribal division. He replaced clan loyalty with religious unity. By 1899, the Dervish army had grown to nearly 5,000 fighters. In April 1901, the British launched their first major campaign. Captain Swain was ordered to destroy the Darawish army and capture their leader, whom the British dismissively called the Mad Mulla. But when the British camped near an area called Las Anud, the Darawish struck first. They charged fiercely into the battle, seeking either victory or martyrdom. The British were defeated and forced to retreat. A month later, a second campaign was launched, and once again, the Dervish had a different strategy now. They simply vanished. When they gathered so much intelligence, they reached the area to attack them. When they got there, there were no Dervish there. They lured them into an ambush and then they attacked the Brits. The empire, upon which the sun never sets, was really stunned at this time. The world began to take notice. The New York Times alone published nearly 50 articles about Sayyid Muhammad. The British branded him the Mad Mullah, a label meant to diminish what they could not defeat. But they understood the truth. This was no ordinary resistance. Britain enlisted Italian and Ethiopian forces. Sayyid Muhammad now has to fight 3 empires. The Darawish responded by securing weapons from the Ottoman Turks, from the French, and of course the spoils of war. On April 16th, 1904, British forces were overrun. More than 200 soldiers and 8 officers were killed. Sayyid Muhammad later wrote a letter to them. He said, "I have fought for 2 years in defense of my religion and my country. If you are people of peace, then leave our land to us. If you kill us, we are martyrs in paradise. If we kill you, then you are in hell." If you ask me, these were not words of madness. They were words of conviction. In 1905, a ceasefire was reached. Sayyid Muhammad established his capital in Ail and built a powerful fortress. He left behind about 52 military fortresses. He engaged in 270 battles and skirmishes, and he founded 41 cities that are still inhabited. He wrote over 120 poems. In 1909, he moved his capital to Taleh, building 4 massive fortresses that still stand today as silent witnesses for what happened back in the day. During World War I, the British retreated. They had to send troops from the Horn of Africa to fight in Europe. But in 1920, Winston Churchill authorized the use of air power. Bombs fell from the sky, something unimaginable at the time. Homes were destroyed, innocents were killed. Taleh was shattered. Sayid Muhammad had to withdraw to organize his troops and then plan for a counterattack. But after 6 days of illness, he got really sick. He died in 1920. In the region of Emi. The Darawish movement ended, but the idea did not. Sayid Muhammad bin Abdullah Hassan remains engraved in Somali memory. Nations never forget those who stood for their land, nor those who brought destruction to it. And history, when reclaimed, always speaks the truth. So my brother and my sister, if you made it this far, please subscribe and share so we can bring awareness of our history. Until next time, ask Allah to keep you safe and healthy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
محمد يا رسول الله صلى عليك وسلم المولى محمد.